So tomorrow is kicking off the game one of the World Series, highly anticipated between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the Toronto Blue Jays. We have kind of a tale of two sides with this one. Toronto, first time in 32 years, getting back there since 1993. The Dodgers, been there, done that, of course, trying to be back-to-back champions in this one. And just going to be my quick thoughts on it. It's going to be very vague, very basic. You could really just, chalk it up for me as being a casual. I have no issue if someone writes that to me. I really don't know that much about baseball. I try and get into it, try to watch a little bit more about the playoffs, and especially we'll be watching every single game of the World Series in this one. When you look at it for the pitching order, at least for game one, we look at what I've seen. LA has announced that Blake Snell will be the opening pitcher for game one, and Trey Savage for the Toronto Blue Jays. I didn't see anything else after that for game two and beyond for Toronto. I've seen some stuff for LA saying Yamamoto will be game two, and Ohtani will be pitching either game three or four. This is why I've read as well. And it's at least to note too, for the first two games for Snell and Yamamoto, it'll be the same rotation they had in game one and game two against Milwaukee as well. And this can be very exciting. Again, especially when you look at the face of the franchise. If you don't look at that, Ohtani and Guerrero, I think this is going to be a much better duo, much better matchup that we saw last year between Ohtani and Judge, with Judge doing absolutely nothing in this. Last year, Ohtani did a little bit better than Judge, but still didn't do nothing compared to what he's done in games past, in series past that he had last year. And also, too, you look at this year for Ohtani, yes, he is coming off of a historic, arguably the greatest game a player has ever had with the 10 strikeouts, 3 home runs, 3 hits. But when you take that last game away against Milwaukee in game 4, he has 0 home runs, 2 hits, 1 run, 1 RBI. So the vast majority of his stats in the 4 games came in that last game of the series, when everything else is pretty bare bones. It's pretty, I want to say mediocre, but it's not to what we expect for Ohtani in this one. And compare it to what Guerrero did against Seattle, which not fair. It's not apples to apples, not 100% because Guerrero did play 3 more games. So some of the stats is a detriment because he's played extra games. But you look at that too, same home runs, 3. The hits, Guerrero had 10, 6 runs, 3 RBIs in 7 games against Seattle in this one. So I do expect Guerrero again in this World Series matchup, Guerrero to play much better against the Dodgers and Ohtani as opposed to Judge did it last season. Or last World Series in this one. So I am excited for this. It's going to be very exciting to see, especially Ohtani this go around pitching and seeing how he does there, because he has a chance to really replicate what he did against Seattle. He doesn't have to go with 3 home runs, 10 strikeouts, but if he can give you at least a home run and give you a few strikeouts, that could be a signature moment. I mean, so that was already against Seattle a monumental moment, but to do that on the World Series stage, yes, that can really solidify yourself even more than what people even are talking about in terms of where he ranks in terms of all-time greats, where he is in that list. So it's going to be very exciting to see what happens between, again, the battle between Ohtani and Guerrero, especially, again, when it gets to 3-0-4, when Ohtani pitches against Guerrero, how that's really going to play out to be. It's going to be a very, great chess match, as well as see what Yamamoto does in the World Series for this year as well. It seems like some of the games I did watch him, it seemed like he played well in some parts too, so it'll be interesting to see what happens in Game 2 in this one. And also, I'll try and put a prompt up for the schedule of the games. The first two games being in Toronto, next 3 games being in LA, and the final 2 games, 6 and 7, if it does get to that point, back in Toronto as well. And we look at quickly to the last 10 games that both these teams have played. It has been then again a polar opposite in this one. Toronto 5-5 the last 10 games they've played. LA 8-2. So you show certainly the huge difference in terms of how these teams have played out. Even though Toronto does have, in terms of the overall win record, 1 more win against than LA, 94-93. And I do question. I wonder too if, going back to what I said real quick about the first time in 32 years of Toronto going back to the World Series, this team, for the most part, is all, I don't know if there is anyone that has gone to the World Series prior years, but again, casual moment right here. But for the most part, certainly Guerrero, some of your top guys haven't been there yet. So it's going to be very interesting to see that. A team that is the first time in 3 decades, and for all these guys, first time ever going to the World Series versus a team that has veterans have gone there, has players have gone there, especially again your top guys with Ohtani that has played last year too. So there's a team that has been there multiple times in prior years, as opposed to Toronto, who's been there is going for their first time in over 3 decades. So it's gonna be very interesting to see the experience if that does play out. Is some of the guys going to kind of be a little bit overwhelmed in the biggest moments for Toronto? Is that going to be a factor in that one? For Guerrero, I don't expect that, but certainly is that going to be a factor, as opposed to, again, LA, who has veterans, who's been there, done that, built by money for this team, really, for buying their top players. You even saw some of the players after, or some of the people after the game for LA kind of leading into that part of people saying that they've ruined the sport, they've ruined the baseball because of just how they built their team. They want to ruin it again, like they said. So again, it's very interesting to see the different dynamics of both these teams, how they bring to the table. But again, I like to see if for Toronto again, for that side, if the lack of experience in the World Series, of non-experience, I should say, and the biggest moments, is that going to kind of catch them off guard? Is that going to be the slight edge that gives for the Dodgers to win this one just because of that factor alone? But regardless, again, I think this is going to be a really fun, a great, exciting World Series to watch. Again, I think Guerrero is going to be much, much better in this World Series as opposed to Aaron Judge, what he did last year. I do, unfortunately, if you want to call it as, for probably a lot of us want to see Toronto win. I do see the Dodgers winning this one. I give it 4-2, win 6 games for this series. Same thing like it was for the Yankees, but I do think the games are going to be much better than it was last year for the Yankees and Dodgers. I think the Toronto will give up a little bit better fight, again, especially for Guerrero. I think he's going to play much better in this series for this superstar matchup per se. So we'll see how it does. But again, I'm very excited to see how it plays out. I'll be watching game 1 and to give you the time for that one, going to my schedule here real quick. Game 1 starts at 8 o'clock in this one. And again, 1.5 point favorite for the LA Dodgers in this one. Nothing yet for game 2, of course, for that betting favorites. And that'll be 8 o'clock as well for game 2. So can't wait to watch the game with everyone else for game 1, see how it plays out in Toronto. And we'll see you for my recap after game 1 and my thoughts going to game 2.